and welcome to Superhero Rewind Light. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince.
Today we're going to be reviewing the second episode of Batman the Animated Series, Christmas with the Joker, which I want to preface with, this is the second episode on the box set. We're doing these in order, in DVD order, not aired order. We actually made a mistake last time when we said that the episode we reviewed last time was On Leathered Wings was the first one aired, and in fact wasn't. I looked that up, and they aired it later. In fact, they aired a bunch of episodes in between the two-part Cat in the Claw thing. Apparently the first episode they put out was the first Catwoman episode with Red Claw, which I was really surprised by. But then they aired other things in between the two-parter.
That's weird.
Yeah, isn't that strange?
That's weird.
Yeah. Anyway, well, so that's why we're doing a Christmas episode in October. And Vince, what was your first impression of this when seeing it again after?
Well, it's funnier than I remember it being. You know, I always kind of remember the Joker being just a little stereotypical, like that was the point, was that he wasn't supposed to be particularly funny, he was just demented. But in this one, he was kind of funny.
Yeah, I thought so too.
I found myself laughing several moments, not in spite of myself, just at what's going on screen.
And it was also hard not to laugh at the things that were a little more demented than you might expect them to be.
And I mean, there are dumb things, but there are things that are like things that are kind of demented, but not necessarily on the surface. Like, for example, they turned the camera to this audience that the Joker's performing in front of, and it's a bunch of like cardboard cutouts drawn to look like the varying significant figures in Gotham. So there's Batman and Robin and Gordon. And when I saw that, I looked at Cap here and I said, how long did it take him to make those?
Well, and you got to ask that about all these things. I mean, clearly there's a lot of absurdity going on here. The Joker is doing a million things that he couldn't possibly do, and you know, you could go through all kinds of things that, you know, this is a plot contrivance and this is a plot contrivance. This is one of those episodes where it really walks the line between dramatic episode of an animated series and cartoon. And it's hitting a lot of old-school Warner Brothers cartoon beats. There are a whole lot of setups where the Joker puts Batman in a death trap, almost a la 60s Batman, but you can take it more seriously than that. And then,
thereby making it very classic comic book style, right?
Also, yeah, and so what you have is almost Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner, where like we set up a trap and then Batman has to get past the trap, and we see how he cleverly maneuvers his way out of it. But they're also very elaborate. And they look very dramatic, and you know, there's a lot of atmosphere there. My favorite action scene in this episode has got to be the Nutcracker suite. I think just it looks fantastic. I mean, it's absurd. It's ridiculous.
It gets weird. There's giant robots, and there's these like, planes that seem to be inconsistently sized. Like the same plane, inconsistently sized depending on which part of the show it's in. It's weird.
But the Joker does so many things like that. He's got all these things set up, which somehow or rather he managed to get set up from jail. Somehow or rather he managed to get a Christmas tree on a rocket to get out of jail, all of these things. So yeah, it's absurd, it's ridiculous, but also there's some kind of really interesting ideas about family and about what how the Joker and Batman look at each other that I want to get to in a minute. But going back to the Nutcracker thing for a minute, I think one of the things I love about that scene is the arrangement of a lot of the Nutcracker music that Shirley Walker does there. It's lovely. It's so good. It's some of the best score in the show, I think. I really like that.
That's fair. To be honest with you, I hadn't noticed because there's so much weird stuff happening on screen.
Yeah, sure.
And then sometimes they go for the obvious joke, which I don't necessarily, or I'm not ever necessarily opposed to it. You can make an obvious joke work, it just has to be timed properly. So when Batman picks up a bat and starts hitting all of the little planes that are flying at him, and then Robin has to say, it's almost necessary, you are Batman, or something like that.
No, he says they don't call you Batman for nothing.
Right.
And you think that's obligatory.
I almost feel like that, because of how weird what's going on screen actually is, this has to be said.
Okay, I've seen this before. It's been a long time, but I like that came out of left field for me. I totally forgot about it. Left field, and I totally forgot about it, and it hit me, Vince, in just the right place. I thought it was. So I laughed out loud. I thought it was hilarious.
Me too.
Oh, okay, so you thought it was funny.
I thought it was funny, and I almost.
I thought you were criticizing it.
No. It seems like an obvious joke to make, but due to the typical style of the show, trying to be more Burton-esque, they establish an atmosphere under which this is a joke that probably would not be said, but they say it anyway.
Yeah, I love it. Well, and you can get away with it because of a lot of the absurd things already going on. It's like Batman and Robin are going to somewhat coalesce to the absurdity, right? Like one-liners like that, I think work okay in this kind of a situation because it's hard not to adjust to your atmosphere, to your setting, right? And so when he makes jokes like that, and even Batman cracks a couple of things here and there, and so when they do that, I don't think it's the characters in the show kind of winking to the audience, we know this is ridiculous. It's a world that's not usually this ridiculous, but they're dealing with such an extreme character that he is that way. And
I would have liked a little bit of a reason for how much ridiculousness happening to have actually happened. Like, it would have been nice that had there been some kind of explanation for how the Joker has established these robots, how the Joker... I mean, it would have been as easy as the goons had kidnapped some significant roboticist or robotist.
Yeah, but I'm of two minds about it, because there's a part of me, and I'm talking about in the context of this show, you can almost make the same argument that a lot of people make about things Batman does. Well, he's capable of this because he's the Joker. You know what I mean? Like, we don't get an explanation for how he's capable of doing a lot of the crazy things he does.
A very traditional comic book thing to do.
Yeah.
Which is still a narrative issue. They say he can because he is. That doesn't, because you're crazy does not mean that you can do super science.
I get that, but this is not the most grounded universe.
Yeah,
and I also can forgive that a lot more when the ideas are interesting. And I think in this episode they really are. The big one is that the Joker, and this is said earlier in the episode by Batman, that the Joker has no family.
Yep.
And and he even says, I have no family, so I stole one of my own. But he's very quick to say, I'll give my, but I don't care. I don't want them. I'll give them to Batman when he gets here. The Joker through this entire episode is not trying to kill Batman. I don't think. This is my reading on it. I think that he is playing out a scenario. He wants to have a Christmas special, and he is playing out this Christmas special scenario on this grand crazy scale, and he wants everybody else to get to experience it with him, right? And so he brings in Batman because he sees Batman as his family, and this cat and mouse game that they play, again, almost old school Warner Brothers cartoon, is his whole world. He doesn't leave Arkham expecting to never go back. So when he gets sent back and he's laughing at the end, I think that he had that entirely planned. I think that he wanted to get caught by Batman, and I think he wanted it to play out exactly the way that it did. And I think that this is the way the Joker wants to experience Christmas Eve. This is for the Joker, Christmas. Now, for Batman, his perfect Christmas Eve is stopping crime, because that's his perfect any night of the year. And he's not going to be happy until that happens. So when early on he doesn't want to watch It's a Wonderful Life because he's afraid that it's going to be too cheery, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah.
You get to the end and he says,
get past the title.
Well, yeah, I couldn't get past the title. Well, Robin, I guess it really is a wonderful life. That's because he also got what he wanted. And so like it's almost twisted. In a way, Batman and the Joker require each other. And this is a classic kind of motif through Batman stories, and we get that really well established here. It's an important line, I think, when the Joker says it's his first annual Christmas special. He intends to do this every year.
I missed that first annual.
I think that's cool.
It's just an easy thing for people to say, because often they're like, first annual this, and they may or may not actually have a second annual this.
Yeah, that's true, and we never see him do exactly this again, but I do know that there's a Justice League episode where he does another, like take over the... Well, actually, there's even another Batman episode where he takes over the TV again, and does another special. He does this kind of stuff.
See, the way I saw it was that Joker's doing the best to spend his Christmas with his family, and that's essentially Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
And he's saying, this is not just... I feel like he was trying to do a Christmas special, but in a Christmas special, somebody learns a greater truth about Christmas. And I don't feel like the Joker's trying to prove any point to Batman, other than the fact that he's just trying to spend time with Batman. So he establishes this, and you made the comment earlier that, is this a Christmas special or is this a telethon? And,
yeah, because it goes for so long.
And it's
we
really...
see a clock and it says it's like 6:30, but he gives him the timetable of midnight. I'm like, wow, how long is this Christmas special going to go?
Yeah, I mean, he's dressed up like Mr. Rogers, so
Yeah.
there is this kind of fabricated idea to the presentation of it, but ultimately it's him walking around talking to an actual person. So and then presumably quite a lot of it is not televised, thereby he doesn't actually create a Christmas special.
You think?
And
I think it's all televised.
And well, not all of it could be.
Why do you say that?
Because there are things that or there are things that we see that the...
Oh, no, I see what you're saying. I thought you just meant that every time Joker's on screen, he's not necessarily televised.
Oh, no,
he's always televised.
Yeah, all of the stuff that actually comes on screen that is actually broadcasted is definitely
That's one of the things I did think was kind of silly is that Batman keeps turning the Joker off on his car TV, but then he'll turn him back on precisely when he starts to say things that are important. I'm like, wow, your intuition is amazing, Batman.
Now! So I ultimately enjoyed this episode. I do think that there is something symbolically interesting about the Joker and Batman being family. I think, as you said it earlier, they need each other.
I also think it's important that the final denouement happens over a vat of acid, because now we haven't. If we're looking at this as the order,
it's almost like
the
oh God, what do you call it when you have Jesus in the cradle, the scene, the nativity.
The nativity,
it's
that's
almost
great.
Like the Batman Joker nativity.
Ah, good call. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And so the idea is he's not just his family because he likes fighting Batman. The Joker in the form that he's in now would not exist without Batman. So I'm not going to go as far as to say that he sees Batman as his father, because there's not really any of that idea or imagery played up, right? But I mean, you could maybe extrapolate that far. But you see what I'm saying? They are intrinsically linked by Batman dropping him in a vat of acid. Now, if you're watching this in this particular order, and I don't think that even the way that it was aired, you would have necessarily known about the vat of acid if you hadn't read Batman comics. So I think it's kind of interesting that they put that...
Saw the movie.
Yeah, well, that's true, because, well, you're right, because there is so much Burton going on in the initial creation of the show. By the way, you mentioned the Burton's movie earlier. There are a couple of line readings that Kevin Conroy has in this that seemed very Michael Keaton line readings to me.
Yeah.
When he says the Joker has no family, that was very Michael Keaton.
Yeah, that was pretty decent. Good job.
Thanks. I wanted to mention a couple other things. There's a lot going on in this. This is a pretty dense episode, strangely, and there's a few fun things I wanted to mention of kind of callbacks to things. There's some cartoon kind of gags that are done in this, and homages. We mentioned Fleischer last time. The train is an obvious Fleischer callback. You remember the train episode when we watched Fleischer? They do. It's not exactly the same scenario, but they even do a similar. I'm talking about music a lot. They do a similar music cue to the train Fleischer episode, where you remember when in that when Superman is pushing against the train, the music is moving slowly and then progressively getting faster as he pushes the train up. They do that in reverse here. As the train slows down, the music slows down. I thought that was cool. A direct callback to the Fleischer cartoon. The Betty Blooper doll is a Betty Boop doll. I think it's important Robin is in this episode because Robin is Batman's family, and so we have Batman having a real family, and Alfred too. Batman has a real family, whereas the Joker has to kind of manufacture one.
You know, I thought it was kind of funny that I felt like the reason Robin was used in this episode was specifically so that the Joker could sing that Batman smells, Robin laid an egg.
Robin laid an egg. That's funny.
Because I don't feel like they used him for any... I think he fits, but I don't think he was necessary.
I don't know. I mean, I would argue with you on that just a little bit. I mean, because he's kind of that grounded voice of reason that tells Batman there's more to life than fighting crime.
But so is Alfred.
But Alfred doesn't do that in this episode. Robin does. Alfred has almost no dialogue.
That's why I say Robin's not necessarily necessary. But
well, you're saying Alfred could have filled that role. I'm saying I think you needed Robin to fill that role because Batman is actually doing the thing that he loves to do, fighting crime, but alongside of his family. He's not alone like the Joker is. I think that's important. I think having a partner with Batman through this whole episode actually matters, as opposed to the Joker who is completely by himself. You know, this episode wouldn't have worked the same way if Harley Quinn had been there.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway, that's my read on it. Anyway. Yeah.
Indeed.
So anyway, quite a bit going on in this one. Vince, what is your rating, sir?
Oh man, I'll give it a. I want to give it another average, but I think I'm going to give it a 3. Why not?
Yeah, I'm going to go with straight 3 too. And I think I actually enjoy it more than I enjoy the last one that we watched. But you know, it's difficult to compare these things. There are other Joker episodes I like better, so I'm gonna give it kind of an above average but even keel.
I kind of like the style a little bit more of the previous one, so I was like, I
can see that. Yeah.
But this one, it's fun in a different way, so I have to judge it differently.
Yeah, it's a little more layered too, I think.
Indeed.
Well, everybody, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you next week for another review of Batman the Animated Series. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince.
See you next time.